Welcome back to the show with myself, Nafisa Dango. And, I'm so inspired this morning. It's unbelievable. We've spoken about inspiring women. We've spoken about, uplifting young people and the types of situations they're in, and not forgetting the elderly this morning. So let me just tell you a little bit about the people we're going to be speaking to. I'm going to be speaking to a phenomenal lady. Her name is Jane Simmonds. She is the founder of the GoGOGOgo project in Alexandra in Johannesburg. And she teaches pensioners in the township to be more tax savvy. And we're going to be getting some more information with regard to that. She's going to give us insight into that particular project. A very good day to you. And thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Jane. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Talk to us a little bit about yourself. You're such a phenomenal person. Just to think that, you thought about, should we say, there's many a times, and I think it's not done intentionally. There's times where you get those forgotten people, and people like yourselves come in and bridge that gap. Let's talk about yourself. Tell us about the characteristics that you have that are going to follow through to, of course, creating the GoGOGOgo foundation. I'm getting tongue-tied here.
So, thank you for recognizing the importance in seeing people that are often not seen. And I think that we don't see older people a lot in South Africa. And, older people are often marginalized and extremely vulnerable. And I started my work with older people in Alex when I was doing a master's in public health, where I did some research on older people or gogos and how they speak to the children they're raising about sex and sexuality and HIV and AIDS. And I think all of us will know how many grandmothers are raising children in South Africa. In fact, it's over 4 million. But also, talking about sex is a very difficult conversation to have for many parents, and especially difficult for grandparents. But while I was doing my research on this project, I started to become aware of just how important and how valuable grandmothers are in the community, and also how much they love their grandchildren. So I think that for me was the recognition in myself of the value that grandmothers bring to communities and to families. And that there's a wonderful quote I like to use, that a house without a grandmother is like a road that goes nowhere. It's a Senegalese proverb. And I think it's being in myself, seeing the recognition that grandmothers bring to children and to the outcomes of children and to the health of children and the future of children, that we need to recognize the role of grandmothers, which is why I started the NGO called GoGOGOgo, to build strength and capacity and skills and knowledge in recognition of grandmothers, but also importantly, to see the grandmothers as experts at raising children. They've done this now for the second time, and some of them are even doing it for a third time as great-grandchildren are starting to be born. So it's not about coming and saying what we can say as scientists or medical people or social anthropologists, but what can we learn as communities from grandmothers on their experiences?
And I so agree with you there, because my grandmothers were my inspirations when I was young. They taught us so many things that we took from yesteryear, and I talk about this all the time, into this year, into this generation, into this lifetime. It's the morals, the principles, the manners in which they taught us to be brought up, and the types of characteristics they taught us, which I think is absolutely important and pertinent. And nothing changes that. I mean, we know the generation and the lifestyle has changed, but those particular aspects of life have not.
No, and I think the value of grandmothers is increasing all the time, and even in households where parents are haven't died, but parents who go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, or parents who live in different cities for work, or parents who've gone to towns to look for work. So it's not just about parents who died like we saw in the 90s and early 2000s 2000s from
Mm,
HIV and AIDS, but also parents who are now at work and who
mm,
is looking after children, who's getting their school bags ready, who's getting their lunch boxes ready, who's getting them to and from school safely, who's
mm,
helping with homework. And this is exactly what GoGOGOgo wants to do. We want to look at the impact of grandmothers on
mm.
the health outcomes of children that they are raising.
Mm. The ideology that you have has got me very interested, and especially the area that you've gone to. And it's nice to see that you're going to the elderly people in Alexandra. Because, as we know, Alexandra is a huge township. Many a people there are struggling. And as we know, as you were saying earlier, the younger people have to go out to work to be able to bring in the earnings. They are the breadwinners, and the elderly are there, but they don't have the skills, should we say, to be able to help the younger ones. And this is, I think, where you're coming in to bridge the gap, to be able to educate them and say, well, this is how you go about doing it. And I love the idea about the smartphones, internet, and teaching them how to be tech savvy, because I think that also helps from the education point of view. As we know, due to the COVID-19 period, there were so many constraints where the townships were struggling because they didn't have that. Should we say, technology to be able to help the younger ones get through it online.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, COVID has certainly brought to us the value of internet in the positive sense. The experience of grandmothers about it with the internet traditionally is one of fear and one of nervousness. The internet is seen as this big space that'll steal your identity, take your money, introduce your children or grandchildren to porn, cyberbullying, dating. It's not a friendly space. So
Mm,
there's grandmothers are very scared of the internet. But with COVID, we realized that the internet has value, and the internet can bring education and learning and conversations and communication to households. So our approach or our thinking behind this was to go to teach grandmothers how they could use the internet safely, and to familiarize them with how to use the internet and social media and job applications and banking and
mm,
Uber and Bolt and WhatsApp calls, and then to give them the skills to take their knowledge into the household. The big vision of the project is for each grandmother who completes the 8-week training workshop with us to take a tablet home to her household so that her children and grandchildren can use the tablet safely and use it to improve educational outcomes, job employment opportunities, CV submission, all of
mm,
those things. That is something we've had a problem with implementing due to funding.
mm,
So, but that is the vision, is that a tablet goes into each household headed by a grandmother who completes our training,
mm.
and the grandmother supervises that tablet for safe internet use for the children she's raising.
Sure, that I think is an absolutely phenomenal concept, because what happens is it doesn't just stop there. Because I know you have lessons twice a week there in Alexandra itself, but taking this tablet home is creating the word empowerment,
Yeah.
empowerment and upliftment. And that's what you're doing, because by having that tablet on hand, it allows those grandmothers to do the necessary with the young ones. Also, of course, as you said, in a safe environment for them to be able to do what they need to do, to be able to empower themselves. And once they're empowered, that's what we need, is we need empowered individuals. Empowered individuals become self-sustainable in many directions. And that's what we're looking to do, is through Ubuntu, through understanding the types of challenges. And this is what I say. I spend a lot of time looking at the townships and trying to define the needs of those townships to see, what it is that we can do to help those particular people move forward. And I think that's exactly what you've done, is you've bridged that gap through go. And I think that it's an absolutely phenomenal concept. You're doing a wonderful job of it, Jane. um, how does this make you feel, going back home every single time that you go out there, doing those lessons, giving those tablets, and know that when you walk away, you have somebody that is empowered to some extent?
So I want to just acknowledge I've got two colleagues or two trainers who are doing the tablet training for me in Alex. I think if my children were to hear that I was doing the tablet training, they'd probably shudder in fear at my IT skills. But I've got two young graduates from Alex who are working in Alex doing the training for me. And I think that's very important because they're far more familiar with the experiences and the needs of the community. So my
Yes.
involvement has been the graduations of the group, which are just the most joyous occasions, and to celebrate with these grandmothers who graduate. And in fact, we've had a couple of grandfathers who've asked to come.
Wow.
And one of the women gave us a wonderful quote saying, "We are wise in wisdom, but we are poor in we're rich in wisdom and we are poor in technology." And thanked us for teaching her how to do this project. So
Wow.
so there is this understanding. The other work I've done, which I've done myself, has been on sexual reproductive health workshops in Alex, where I've spoken to grandmothers, and we also had a grandfather, on the need to talk about sexual reproductive health and HIV and AIDS. And it's almost the same background as the internet. You know, if by not talking about the internet or by not talking about sex doesn't mean children aren't going to use it or they aren't going to do it. You can't tell them the internet is dangerous. You can't tell them sex is bad. You have to tell them the truth. And if you don't know what the truth is yourself, you can't care for and protect those children of yours who are going to school where there's internet, going to school where there's pornography available, going to places where sexual choices are more open or more random, where they don't have access to safe sexual information. So for me, it's about speaking the truth to children, because children have access to the truth now that they think it's the truth via the internet. But it's about how do we give children, as parents or grandparents, the information in all walks of their life, whether it's nutrition or exercise or gender-based violence or sex or internet or pornography. How do we give them this information to make safe and healthy choices?
I'm going to come in there with you, Jane, and I agree with you, because I had this conversation with somebody not a long time ago, and I said, they were a motivational speaker, and they went to entice children in the townships that come from really poor backgrounds. And I said, we're probably working the wrong way around. And it's nice to see that you've defined the need the proper way. It's by educating the elderly, because let's be honest, our kids look at us as the role models. Whatever it is that we do is what they look at as the norm going forward in life. So having these gogos learn these things and educate them about that is directing them on the right path, should we say, because inevitably, as you were saying, you're talking about sex education. If you don't teach them the right thing from when they're young and inculcate it in them by saying, this is the norm, what we're doing, this is how it needs to be done, these are the principles attached with it, they will then grow up with that inculcated in them, as opposed to when they're already grown to try and change that mythology of thinking.
You are spot on. And this is why we want to talk to 10 to 14-year-olds, because this is the age group that it starts to make the decisions and their choices about their lives. Sorry, I've got a cough in my throat.
That's fine. So, as I was saying, I think it's important for us to understand the importance that the GoGOGOgo Foundation plays with the elderly, because the elderly then in turn play an integral role with the young ones, where their parents are not there to fill the gap. Because as we know in the townships, many people go out, leave their kids at home, and they're not seen to. And then what happens is they slowly start losing their direction, because they don't have that role model to play that part for them. And you have just definitely filled that gap. And I'm totally blown away by the concept. I think it's going to work really amazingly well. I probably see many successful stories coming out of that, and having real leaders going forward. And that's what it's about. We spoke about Ubuntu earlier. This is creating that Ubuntu, defining the needs of the people in the townships, asking ourselves, How do we create the spinal cords? How do we bridge those gaps? How do we educate each other and help each other together as communities to move each other forward?
That's exactly what it is. It's this intergenerational thing and looking at a community. So even a grandmother, a gogo, doesn't have to be a biological grandmother. We all know a gogo is a respected elderly woman who's usually loved by many people. And that is why we want to make this about the community and about the households that these grandmothers have this role in, of holding communities and families together.
And not just that, it also gives them a purpose to be able to do something that is so meaningful and full of essence. And I think, I'm sure they get a lot of fulfillment through that, knowing that they've done something really great for either a young person that is in their community or their own grandchild for that matter.
They absolutely. I mean, the value and the strength that we see in these women as they get stronger and stronger. When they start, they don't know how to swipe. They don't know how to turn the tablet on. I mean, I try and teach my mother how to swipe when it was a big challenge. I mean, it's out of control. But by the end of it, these women know how to search for bolts. They need to find out a destination. They can look where a shop is. They can find the opening hours. They can see specials. And one of the most beautiful things that they did, and which I've got a video of, unfortunately I wasn't there, is learn how to make WhatsApp calls on video. And for these women who many of them have not been able to get to rural homes or to see families due to COVID, they were seeing people for the first time in a year. And the joy of the buzz of this room, of people talking and seeing each other, it was just joy.
It's such a pity that we don't have that video. I can only imagine the impact it had created.
Well, I can share it with you and you can share it.
Sure, we'd love to. What do you think is the most important thing people need to know about GoGOGOgo?
I would like to stress that this is a working project. It's a going project. We are looking for collaboration. We're wanting to go to different areas. We want to work with income generation opportunities for grandmothers as well. It's about empowerment. So
Sure.
for your listeners who have ideas or connections or thoughts or suggestions, please to reach out to me through my webpage, which is go-gogo-go.org.za. And I would love to find a collaboration. I am only a part of this cog of this wheel. There is a whole South Africa out there that have got experiences and things to share.
Sure.
The other thing is we would love additional funding. We are a beneficiary of the My School card at Woolworths. So if people could put GoGOGOgo on the My School card as a beneficiary. But I think the most important message I want to say to people is to recognize your grandmothers. Just to recognize the value that your grandmother has brought to you as a parent or as an adult like I am. I miss both my grandmothers terribly. But now looking at the value my mother is bringing to my children's lives. And I am a present parent, but my mother is so available and so loving towards my children. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to see the value of these older women. We know it's there. We love them. We need to recognize how much they love our children or their grandchildren, and recognize the expertise and value that they bring and acknowledge that.
That is so true. I want to thank you so much. You've been such an inspiration, and I really love what you're doing. From a team point of view, we looked at this and said, at least the elderly are being seen to in some way. But it's not from just the nurturing point of view. You've taken the concept and changed it into something so full of essence and so full of life that people learn from it. So I want to commend you on that. Congratulations. You're doing an absolutely phenomenal job. We look forward to chatting to you in the future to see how far you've gotten with this. But you have our support, and we wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to be so excited to hear from listeners about ideas and thoughts and collaboration and suggestions, because this is what it is about. It's about Ubuntu, and it's about communities and working together.
Definitely. It's been such a pleasure. We wish you all the best. From myself and the team, have a lovely one. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was Jane Simmonds from GoGOGOgo. What a phenomenal thing. They actually take elderly people and get them tech savvy, which I think is so important, because many a times, as she was saying, they get left behind and they don't even know how to deal with it. And I think that's important, is educating them and helping them move forward. And then they, of course, play the role models that they need to be in life. We seem to be run out of time, but I want to leave you with something that was written by George Bernard Shaw. It says, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. And it is so true. It's about mindset. And from the many people that we spoke today, they've taken the models that happened through COVID-19 and changed it to suit the type of situation we're in, so that we ourselves can better our lives. And that's what we were meant to do for you for this morning. I'm hoping that we have inspired you in many directions. From myself and the Salam Media team, we wish you a lovely weekend. And I hope to chat with you next week, same time, same place. And of course, entice you into better spaces and better places. From myself and the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.